Hello, friends. Welcome to Beyond the Silver Screen, a movie nerd's late night delight. Fuck, I can't believe I said that. All around me are familiar places, going faces. This is Daniel.
Hello there.
You know him, you love him. So,
Thank you, Oleg.
the 50 people that do know you love you, but less than that. Most of them don't make it past like the introduction. So. Yeah, we are going to be talking about a few movies tonight, but we will be releasing that footage over a longer course of time, so expect a few of these coming out on a weekly basis. Yeah, so without further ado, let's get into the first film, which is Train to Busan, an action film from South Korea. So I have some quick info right here. Train to Busan came out in 2016. The director's name is Yeon. I probably mispronounced that like 10 times. The budget was $8.5 million, just to keep in mind. All right, and now I hand over the mic to my guest here, Daniel. What did you think about the film? Would you recommend it or not?
Cool, yeah. I think Train to Busan is an exceptional, it is a very unique zombie apocalypse film in the fact that its coloring is very, very unique. I don't see a lot of zombie films where the lightings are very vibrant. For an apocalypse film, there's a lot of life, there's a lot of color in there. So if you watch all The Walking Dead or 21 days later or 21 weeks later, those movies, 28 days later, 28 weeks later, their coloring are always dark, they're always like humid. It's like Thor the Dark World, but like darker.
Don't remind me of that piece of shit.
But Train to Busan, it is so colorful. You know, like it's like, oh, it's a bright sunny day. You know, like it's supposed to be very cheerful. There's very, very nice sunlight. The greens it's a lush green as the train goes across the countryside. Beautiful scenery, and then you just see the destruction that happens in a very claustrophobic environment, and that is what I really liked about this film.
Okay, yeah, that's a very good take. I will say I haven't really even thought about the coloring of this film, but everything you just said is like 100% true. The lighting in this film is very well done, and the colors in this film look very natural and lively, which I just think makes it like nicer to watch as a film for sure.
It even makes the contrast even more. So like you're in a vibrant place where it's full of life and yet it's all death. That contrast sort of emphasizes more upon terror and like freedom, like hope and despair, because like it's sort of like, and especially the only dark scenes that were in the movie was when
Careful.
Oh wait, we're not spoiling. Okay.
We're not spoiling too. We'll get into that. So far, like stay here. Don't worry. No spoilers will be in the review, at least up until now and until I say otherwise. So yeah, that in mind.
Okay then. Well, that's sort of.
I'm sorry if I. Do you want to remember that point and come back to it?
Yeah, I'll remember that point.
Okay.
And come back to it.
So about spoilers, I will say for me it will be very hard to discuss this movie without them. Yet I will. I think that it's very hard to really ruin this film with spoilers. So I will try to dance around them, so to speak, and I won't reveal what actually happens. But if you're afraid of that, I just let you know it's your decision to make. I will be careful. I hate spoilers, so I won't say anything that I would think would ruin my experience with the film. So there. This film is fantastically shot, well acted, and one of the most innovative zombie movies I've ever seen. But then there's the last 30 minutes, and pretty much every praise that I am going to give to this film will end in, but then there's the last 30 minutes, because the last 30 minutes are redundant. They feel like they really don't have to be there. Nothing really new happens in terms of character arcs. The stuff that does happen and like the plot twists that do come, even though they're not really plot twists, but I guess the plot developments that do come, even when they are significant, they come. I would say they come out of the blue. They're not properly set up. Everything that is set up in this film is mostly wrapped by like that before the 30 minutes at the end or left mark. Even the antagonists, I would say their character arc and their like the path that is set for them in this movie completely comes full circle, and the development that they do carry the development that they do give them from that point on is absolutely, in my opinion, unnecessary. Even regarding the technical aspects of filmmaking, I think the action is super sweet. That's not a spoiler, on the train.
Very OP, like.
Yeah, because the movie is called Train to Busan. There is zombie action on the train. Surprise, surprise. It's super cool. It's well filmed. It's tense. It's just pretty much what you would want from a movie like this. But you may disagree with me on this, but the action in the last 30 minutes is ridiculous. The CGI is overused and it's not good. The decisions that the characters make are just stupid decisions that walk right out of the horror movies, that stuff like Until Dawn and Cabin in the Woods, Trolls. I don't even know what to say here. Like, I was shocked when I was watching this movie because the first 2/3, I think, were so good. Yeah. And then, like, I really think that the last 30 minutes kind of ruined my experience. Not because it was that bad, it was not good, but because the movie before that was actually really, really solid. Okay, so now that we're done with this, we're going into spoiler territory. We're still going to talk about a bunch of stuff about this film, but be warned. If you have already seen this movie, you're welcome to stay. If you don't care about spoiling it, you can stay. I think this is not a movie that you should be afraid to spoil for yourself, because it's an action film first and foremost.
Oh yeah.
There aren't like plot twists and shit, really.
I mean, they're
not the ones that matter or the ones that are integral to the film. They're there because they have to be there.
Right.
Because the writers felt like they need to be there.
Fair enough. Yeah.
All right. The point that you withheld, that I didn't let you make because
Right.
of my tyrannic ways.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. Back to lighting. I was about to say that lighting in this entire film allows huge contrast between hope and despair, between life and death. And to me, it is ironic that vibrant color is shown in terrible times, while dark atmospheres is actually the site of hope. So in the beginning of the movie, when they were driving, the father was driving the son. It was the son, right?
Oh.
The father. Was,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, yeah. His kid to Busan.
Wasn't it the daughter? Then?
It was a daughter. Yeah, okay, fine. Sorry, it was a daughter. He looked like a boy. Come on, okay.
I mean, when kids are very small, sometimes it's very hard to tell them apart. Like, I hate kids.
Please don't kill me.
No, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a kid lover. I don't really like kids. I have like in there. I do have experience of teaching kids before. And,
okay.
I can do that. But personally, like, I'm not the biggest fan of kids.
But I love kids. They're like the next best thing, because this is another conversation.
Well, I was just saying that sometimes I also find it hard, like especially when they're very small.
Right.
Hard to tell boys.
And their hairstyles are like unisex hairstyles.
Yeah, when it's like the Beatles haircut.
Exactly. Yeah. So you don't know like exactly. Yeah. So go praise. Exactly. Gender is a spectrum. So we will not judge the kid's gender, but the kid.
Most certainly, it was a girl.
It was a girl.
Plot twist, it was actually a boy, and I was wrong all this time.
All this time? No! Put in the comment section to see. Once you see the movie, put in the comment section just to tell us whether it was a boy or a girl.
Yeah, we're doing a shit job.
Anyway, the only scenes that were dark is the night scene of the father driving the daughter to the train station, and when the train was in the tunnel. Now, only in these situations were like it was perfectly fine and safe, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then everything else and it's very ironic that darkness is associated to safety, especially in the tunnel scenes where darkness apparently masks
There's
normal people from the zombies.
cool action scene.
The very very cool action scene, but then again, it's weird how they associated darkness to life, to hope. It is through darkness that they went through like all those carts to save their loved ones, and then it's through darkness again they went back. Like every time there's light, like the tunnels suddenly disappear and then the sun shines back. There's terror, or like when there was a bright sunlight coming from the first station that they stopped at, and then a bunch of soldiers a lot of zombies starts running up. The color was like so vibrant, but it is basically death, and this just blows my mind.
Yeah. I would say from the very beginning when a driver hits, I think it was a deer.
It was a deer, yeah.
Yeah, the driver. We watched the movie a while ago. That's why there are so many lapses in our memory. we're not that stupid. We're stupid, but not that stupid. Yeah, so the driver hits a deer, and the moment the deer rises and you just see how they technically achieve that scene, you're like, this is not my average zombie movie. That said, it's not your perfect zombie movie because the last 30 minutes, which are, oh my god, why? Movie, you were so good. You were so good. Why did you do that? You really didn't have to.
About the 30 minutes, I'll be one of those people who would disagree with Oleg here, unfortunately.
No, it's okay to be wrong. Like,
to me, the movie has a theme about, like there's a lesson that the movie is trying to portray. To me, it's not about just courage. Right? It's not about just like, becoming not selfish anymore. I think that what the movie is really trying to get at is the development of the main character, the father, and his transformation to learn what sacrifice meant. So everything that he's done in the beginning portrayed that he wasn't really willing to sacrifice a lot of things for his own success. He neglects his own daughter, neglects his wife, he neglects the morality of helping dangerous chemical companies of creating the zombie virus. It was later said that it was their company who was responsible for this. So in the beginning, he was a very he is like a very very selfish person in those respect, and that was the first part of the movie. So like the setup, right? Once they're in the train and so like once they get on the train and then go all the way to like the second third, like 2/3 of the movie, so like the end of like the second arc, to me that's when I feel the father learns about courage. So he's no longer cowarding towards danger, right? And all characters revolving him, including the about to be father, which is the most OP person in the entire film.
One Punch Man
in the flesh. One Punch Man in the flesh. He's like Hulk, honestly. He's like destroys everyone. He shows courage, right? He shows, when people are facing dangerous issues, you should help them, right? You should not be selfish. And so he went on helping people, and his the sort of spirit affects the main character, the father. But he's never really sacrificed anything. So up to this point, he has never sacrificed anything to help the ones he loved. And it wasn't until the Hulk died.
We're just going to be calling him the Hulk.
The Hulk. I'm calling him the Hulk. He is literally.
I'll deal with it.
He's the Korean Hulk, my dude.
I accept it. I embrace it.
He was, arguably to me, the first true sacrifice of the entire movie. Right? He sacrificed himself to save his wife, his about to be newborn, and all the other people by stopping the zombies. And everyone else who was on the other side of the door, that's closing the door, that's like not allowing the main characters to go across, they were basically the main character in the beginning of the movie. They were selfish, you know, they were cowardice, and they didn't want to help at all. And then there were even more sacrifices that would have to be done. For example, the hobo person.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was a true sacrifice
The homeless
because
person,
he,
yeah.
he sacrificed himself to save the pregnant woman and the father's child. And so it is through these progression that in the third, the final third of the movie, it is about the father learning what sacrifice truly meant. And so the final scene, which to me was the most touching scene, where the father remembers what his life, his true meaning of life was to bring happiness to his daughter. And so he made the ultimate sacrifice, which sort of ended the movie. And the movie basically ends with his sacrifices paying off and showing a brighter future for his daughter and for the pregnant lady. So obviously there was a lot of plot that was very typical for a Korean drama film. Like you can definitely see, okay, that's definitely like a Korean drama thing. Like they have to have that one bad person who is always bad no matter what.
Oh yeah, this movie has that.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like almost all like Asian movies or like all like the
All
Korean
the
movie have
characters
is, like,
except for the main character, everybody in this film is as black and white in terms
Exactly,
of morality
yeah.
as you get.
Yeah, so there you have it. There's definitely that that aspect to it in this Korean drama action film, but still, I felt that like this telltale of selfish to being willing to sacrifice his life. That's the complete arc, and so without that final third, you know, the theme of sacrifice will not be fully portrayed in the entirety of the film.
I mean, I agree, but I disagree. So, I do think that all the observations you made about the story in this film are completely correct, to be honest. And I do think that the sacrifice is the main theme of the story. The movie begins with the main character, the dad, neglecting his family and especially his daughter. However, on the train, we already see the dad risk his life to save other people like multiple times. Not only his daughter, but I believe he risks his life either for the college kid or the homeless person. I think it was the homeless person.
No, the homeless person saved him.
Later, like they save each other a bunch of times in that in that scene where they're on the train and they're moving from cabin to cabin.
Right.
And like when it's dark they can move, but when it's light they can't. He definitely, I think he saves the college kid.
No, definitely saved the college.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree that this is in no way as major as the ultimate sacrifice where he just like kills himself in order to save the people he loves.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not the people he loves, the person he loves, which is his daughter, and then the pregnant woman,
Mm-hmm.
who was just like, it's a noble thing to do for sure. However, I don't necessarily think that having that one ultimate sacrifice at the end justifies having the whole 30 minutes, because like, it's not like the decision that the authors were making, is you either have those 30 minutes in the movie or you don't. You have an empty canvas and you draw whatever you want on it.
Mm-hmm.
You could have written the movie in any way, but they've chosen to conclude all the character arcs, even sort of the dad's one, except for that one final step, and nothing else in those last 30 minutes, which also, like, they didn't have to do it, but they filled it with very stupid character decisions that led to even stupider character deaths that are only there to artificially raise the stakes, which I didn't appreciate personally. The villain of the movie begins by being just like the dad, because he doesn't care about others, he's egocentric, and he neglects other people's like safety and well-being.
Mm-hmm.
So he's an obvious foil for the protagonist's dad, but by the end of the train segment, like when those 30 minutes are left, he mistrusts those like the main characters who just made it all the way through the train, because they can be bitten by the zombies or whatever. and so they put them in a separate room. And then the zombies break through, and they can't make it to that safe room where they put all the main heroes who are actually selfless. And so he pretty much dooms everybody because of his selfishness, including himself. But then once those, and like it's also a complete character arc, I believe, for the villain.
Yeah, that would be a yeah.
But once the once the train part ends and the last 30 minutes begin, we just see that he actually hid in like the toilet with this one other dude, and he survived, and then he throws the dude out to escape, and like his character arc is basically reset, and we go through the same thing all over again, but
Yeah.
slightly worse.
That's a classic like Korean drama like plot device. Like, oh, the bad guy's not dead yet. What?
I mean, I don't
Like-
care if it's like Korean, European, Asian, or anything.
All right.
I just care if it's like good
If it's good
story
or not.
or
Yeah.
bad story.
Right.
And I think, like, I do not see how it could be a good decision within the framework of that particular story
I
because,
see.
like, it's redundant. It's doing something that you've just done, but worse and with less significance. Because this time it's not really his decisions that lead to his demise, it's an accident because he gets, like, bitten and almost zombified by an accident, not as much due to his own selfishness. Like, everything that he does is due to his own selfishness, but it's not as clear cut as he didn't make it to the safe room because he was too selfish and didn't trust the people who just made it through the train. Like, I don't know. I just felt like the last exclamation point they have in the film is probably worth it, but the 30 minutes of build up to it, ever since the train scene, like the train segment ends, are absolutely not. It's the action in the train was so good. It was so well lit. It was so tense. It was so good. And then in the last 30 minutes, the tension is fake. The characters are not smart anymore. The action is all accompanied by shitty CGI, which I don't blame them for. The budget is not that crazy, but like you didn't have to do it.
The CGI actually didn't really. I felt like the CGI didn't really matter.
It wasn't even noticeable
It's not
until I think in the beginning, like when the deer rises, the CGI is fantastic. But in the end, when like there's a scene when like two trains collide and like fall over, I was like,
all over.
yeah, that CGI was shit. It really was. Turns out it was practical.
It was actually trains improvising. Deja vu. I've just been to this place before.
So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we made our feelings known about this movie, and I feel like we're not exactly in agreement, but we are sort of like very close to a consensus. So
close to a consensus.
very close. We've never been this close to a consensus ever before. So I think we're going to wrap this video up.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much for your likes, for your comments. We really appreciate it all. Daniel doesn't, but Daniel doesn't care. He's not even really part of Beyond the Silver Screen. He's just a guest who we all love and cherish.
Well, thank you, Oleg.
Thank you very much, and I will see you next week.